Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Joe Biden may be making a tremendous mistake with this whole Trump indictment thing. And this is yet another self-inflicted wound because you have a sitting administration that is attempting to put their largest political rival, who is not only beating every Republican in the primary polls significantly, but is also defeating Joe Biden in the polls, by the way, in the aggregate, 1.8%, in prison over something that Biden is also guilty of. So they're trying to put Trump in prison. And we talked about this in the last video. But this is something that Biden has arguably been done on a wider scale. You have a lot of skeletons in Biden's closet and the closet of a lot of these politicians, the Clintons. We know that. We know the Hillary Clinton thing. They give her a slap on the wrist. They say gross negligence. But Donald Trump, he's the one of all of these people that actually gets indicted for something, despite him cooperating for the most part with the government, where you have this ongoing legal battle and they know where the documents are, but then they raid his home and they steal things like Time magazine covers, Melania's clothes, where they already had the documents there, secure, covered and protected by security. Doesn't matter. What happens is this administration decides to target Donald Trump for that. And it's a really bad look, especially for the whole democracy crowd. You're trying to put Trump behind bars while saying, oh, well, a democracy is at stake and the MAGA Republicans are the evil threat to democracy. It's like, look in the mirror a little bit when you talk about who is actually using the authority. And part of it is just Republicans being stupid, because if they actually did their job properly, you'd have a lot of Democrat politicians, a lot of these people behind bars for a lot more than this, because they've done a lot more than this, but you don't have that happening. And in this video, I wanted to cover the downfall or the potential downfall of Joe Biden because of this. We'll let the justice system take its course regarding this. I don't believe that Donald Trump is going to go to prison. I don't even believe we may have a verdict on this case for quite some time. But everybody knows this is politically charged. And if anything, like I said in the last video, it's putting a chip on Donald Trump's shoulder more so than not to actually go out there and be the most effective version of Donald Trump we have ever seen in term number 2. Lock her up was the thing back in 2016. And honestly, he should have done that. He really should have gone out there and done it. And now, looking at where it is right now in the state of the political climate, it's like, yeah, you kind of look back at that and say, okay, well, should have used the power. And technically, that is a legitimate criticism on Trump's part. But there's so many instances of Republicans in general just not weaponizing the system the way that our opposition does. And as a result, we keep losing. But in terms of Biden, the downfall could be imminent when you look at many metrics that he's got going on right now. And this is something that likely could even increase his unfavorable numbers among certain voters, because even if they may not like Trump, they understand, okay, well, this guy's just going out there and is being a thug, and maybe Trump is right about the corruption that Biden has had, and you'll kind of enter that back into the political light, where it wasn't allowed to even be in the political light in the media back in 2016. But first, I have to tell you guys about our very good friends over at Noble Gold. You can reign in wealth like King Charles with a gold IRA from Noble Gold Investments. Just as his gold crown symbolized wealth and power, a gold IRA can fortify your own financial kingdom. Imagine the confidence that comes from a retirement backed by a tangible, proven asset. Gold, an asset that's not at the mercy of unpredictable market swings. A crown may not be included, but isn't a future free of financial stress a worthy throne? Like royalty, enjoy the luxury of choice, gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. The realm is yours to command. Fend off concerns about economic downturns and let your wealth thrive with the timeless security of precious metals. This month, the first solid quarter-ounce gold standard bullion coin ever issued with Charles III's image can be yours with your own qualifying gold IRA or 401k rollover of $50,000 or higher. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Call Noble Gold Investments at 877-646-5347 today to get started, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Again, that is noblegoldinvestments.com. So we pulled up this tweet here, and it's accurate. because this is something that you would think it's going to doom Trump. We've seen this so many times. And it's the boy who cried wolf, essentially. And it seems like this effect will continue. We'll analyze the new polls and the new round of polling in both the Republican primary as well as the general election when the new round of polling drops regarding Donald Trump, because if he is like falling off a cliff, then yeah, maybe we'll have to change our tune a little bit. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like that's the case. And this only helps Donald Trump, at least in a primary. I don't believe it hurts him in a general nearly as much as people think, especially because everybody knew about this documents thing for months now, and attacking him on it is not really the best look when Trump could just turn around and say, look what you did. Look at the two-tier justice system. This is a problem. And also, it appears that the case could potentially get thrown out depending on how the court views the Presidential Records Act. But beyond that point, I think we need to look at Biden's primary polls, because we always talk about Trump. Oh, Trump is in the 50s. That's bad, people will say on like the DeSantis side, because he's like essentially the incumbent. And if DeSantis wasn't in the race, he probably would be in the 70s. And that we know. Donald Trump has a favorability rating in the Republican Party in most polls of around 80+%. And by the time election season rolls around and he's the nominee, that's likely to go back up into the 90s, if not even the high 90s, where it was in 2020. And that's true. But Biden is the incumbent, and he's not really facing a serious challenge. But he's not even polling at 60. And the polls that include like people who aren't running, like Gavin Newsom and all these other people, Biden's in the 20s. People don't like Biden. He's still going to get a lot of votes because he has a turnout apparatus that is on the Democrat side that we need to build one to rival them and to beat them at their own game with. But still, the fact that this guy is sitting there below 60% as an incumbent is just laughable, especially because of the fact that his main opponent, I mean, like Kennedy only really has name recognition going for him. And a lot of the people that like him are people that probably may not even vote for Biden. Maybe they'll go third party. They're like the Tulsi Gabbard type. Some may even come home to Trump. And that's really what it comes down to. And I don't believe Kennedy's a viable challenger, partially because of the fact that he's too much of like a centrist. He's too anti-establishment on some things, even though on other things he's very establishment on. And when it comes down to just his presentation, like it's not his fault because he has a condition, but his voice is a little bit not really that presidential, we'll put it at that. And I just think the optics of it are not really the best thing. And then you have Marianne Williamson, who's the crazy crystal lady. If you guys remember the 2020 Democrat presidential debate, she went viral. She's basically the far left candidate in this race, saying Biden's not far left enough, and she's polling at about 7%. But either way, the fact that you have challengers polling this high is never a good thing. Obama didn't have challengers polling this high. Donald Trump did not have challengers polling this high. He was polling consistently around 80%, and he vastly outperformed the polls when the primaries rolled around. And this time, it really seems as if Biden may be facing some problems because people just don't like him as much as they even did in 2020 in some cases. And this is true. His approval rating is in the gutter. He started off with a 55% approval rating. And everyone's like, oh, well, Biden's a corpse or whatever. But for some reason, him staying in the basement does help because it allows him to remain very generic. But now that he's been out in the public eye and his administration has been an unmitigated disaster for the United States, he now faces disapproval ratings of around 55%. And on a good day, his approval rating is 42. A couple days ago, it was down to 41. And people will talk about, oh, well, Trump could only win against Hillary because she was hated so much. Well, look at Hillary's approval ratings or her favorability ratings, because on Election Day, and you know, a lot of people even back then still voted before Election Day, back when her unfavorable ratings were not even that high, but she was at 45, then she went down to 42. Let's just say 42 because that's what the exit polls said they were at. They were about 42% favorable and then 54%, 56% unfavorable or so when you take out the undecideds. And when it comes down to Joe Biden's approval rating is mirroring Hillary Clinton's at the time of the election. And this is true. Donald Trump's at the time of the election was 37%. Right now, Donald Trump's favorable rating is like 41, 42. It hangs in there. And it kind of shows that depending on the polls you look at, because Trump's also getting attacked from his own side right now. Take that out of the equation. Then it probably goes up into 43, 44%. Not only that, he's beating Biden in the polls. So people that say, well, people who disapprove of both, they're definitely going to vote for Biden. It's just set out of thin air. There's no proof or evidence about that. And there really were not a lot of voters that fit into that category back in 2020 compared to where they are now, because Biden has been such a disaster. And then the nostalgia factor kicks in. And now all the scandals they're throwing at Trump seem to be bouncing off of Donald Trump. And a lot of them are just because Biden is weaponizing the DOJ, because these leftists are weaponizing the DOJ against him, because he's still the threat to the system. He's the threat to the uniparties, the threat to the neocons, the neolibs, the globalists, you name it. You know, he's going out there, he's buying everybody free Waffle House. He's the man of the people. We know that. And this is exactly why they are out to get him, because he disrupts the Washington, it's business as usual type of stuff. That's all it comes down to. He's somebody who broke the mold. He's not a part of that political class. And even you may say he's been in the donor class or he's been a part of the establishment, but he's a traitor to that. He's defected from the status quo. He defected from their worldview. And as a result, the Republican establishment hates him, even if they pretended to like him during his presidency so they could get as much passed that they wanted to get passed for the uniparty as possible. And the Democrats hate him for obvious reasons that we don't even need to cover. So they're still out to get him. And if Donald Trump can talk about the issues down the stretch, say, I fought for you, that's why they're trying to put me behind bars, that's a winning message. It really is. And get a turnout operation together, guess what's going to happen? Donald Trump is going to win, regardless of how many legal hurdles they're trying to put in his way. They didn't do this back then because they didn't really think that they needed to, but now you see him get indicted for obvious bogusness, and now they're using that as precedence, and they're going to indict him over something else. Now you see what they're doing to Ken Paxton in Texas, the solid AG. Just all around, they're going to be weaponizing the justice system against political opponents. We always talk about how Russia's evil for doing this, or China is evil for doing this. Well, sometimes we need to look in the mirror, because it's happening right here before our very eyes at the hands of this administration. And that's something that we need to understand is a major problem. And that's the number one threat to our nation's stability right now, because you just see these people take over. They're not relinquishing power. It's a dictatorship under the guise of democracy. And that's what we see right now. And hopefully Trump will be able to overcome it. But it's not looking good for Biden. That's why he's doing this. And at the end of the day, it still may even backfire further, so we'll see. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.